Hello and welcome back to Visual Voices. This is episode 11 and we're joined today by a very special guest, Sarah Parnell.
Oh, thank you.
It's so nice to have you on and nice to have you behind the mic instead of... in front of the mic instead of behind the mic. So we're here in Backlair at the moment. The exhibition is up, your work is on the wall. How are you feeling?
Oh man, I think I slept for like 2 days after. It was intense.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. I was really happy after we'd handed in the sketchbook. I felt like all the deadlines were met, and then putting up the actual exhibition itself, it was just a joy, just a pleasure. I really loved that.
Yeah.
And then just to see it all finished, like all that year of contemplation and decision making and talking to people and okay, some of the decisions were made, you know, quite last minute, but yeah, fabulous, loved it.
How have you found having people's reactions to the work?
It's been really interesting. It's been really nice to hear the positivity, because obviously you're never sure how it's going to be received. However, I'm just so pleased it's done that in some ways it probably didn't matter what people said, you know, because of all the work and effort that I'd put into it. It was my baby anyway, so... Yeah,
I think that's great. You can get to a place where you feel comfortable and happy with it, and that's really positive.
Absolutely.
So, if you could tell me like the title of your work and then sort of a little introduction to what it's exploring, just for people who aren't on the course and who don't know.
Sure. So, the title is Mycelium, A Route to Survival. I did think about playing with the word route. I didn't know whether to do ROOT or the conventional route. Yeah, and it's really about making people aware that plastics are replaceable, and mycelium might be one of the main contributors in replacing plastics. There's so many positive benefits to mycelium. Without mycelium, I don't think we'd exist. It stops us from getting floods because of its tight network system integrated around root systems with trees. So I think my approach has been quite scientific. But for me, it's all about a movement of talking about environmental change, I think.
So when you came to making this project, was the message that you wanted to send out, was that at the centre of it really?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. It was a way of, I just feel, as people, as young as people ourselves, we're up against such battles against corporates that we need to find a way, and we need to find a voice amongst ourselves to try and implement change if we can. And if I can do that by some form of visual of activism, then, you know, if someone takes a leaflet and reads what I've done, then I feel I've achieved something.
Yeah, that's really great. I think it's really interesting because a lot of people, you know, don't know anything about mycelium. I know I didn't really know anything. So it's been really great to come to like an art show and be able to learn about science. It just makes it more accessible to...
Yeah, I think, so the interesting thing about the mycelium is people understand the fruit of mycelium, which is the mushroom bit. And then when we start digging down into what the mycelium is, and people have either a love-hate relationship with mushrooms. They either love mushrooms to eat, or they're like, ooh, you know, I don't like ooh, you know, the texture or whatever. So, yeah, it's been really interesting having conversations with people. It's certainly, the exhibition has certainly helped talk about it anyway.
And do you think this is a project that you'd like to explore further, like continuing after your studies?
Oh, yeah, I really would. I suppose the main issue for me is keeping the equipment that I have, which is at university, and having access to being able to make the biomaterials and grow the mycelium and photograph the mycelium. So we'll see. I'd love to carry it on, but we'll see how practicable that is moving forward, I think.
It is hard having this access to all the equipment and then suddenly that's gone, and the Adobe packages as well.
Yeah.
And obviously that all comes at like a big expense as what we've paid for with the degree. So
it's like a severe cut, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not like a gradual. Well, we'll wean you off it for a year after you graduate.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally finish.
I think it's trying to figure out, you know, at what point do you buy the gear for yourself? Like, obviously you've got to figure out financially, and just knowing what to get as well, because they're always releasing new stuff.
Sure.
It's difficult.
It is, and I think it's a balancing act of wanting to do your art, being able to afford to live, getting what you need for your art, getting just a regular job that's bringing in some money. You know, it's
But then leaving you enough time to still like make your art.
That's right, and have time to think about art. I think sometimes
Yeah.
that's something I've really learnt over this course, is it's okay to sit and think about your art, just to sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
I think we live in a society where if we're actually not physically doing something, then it's a bad thing. But I think I've learned one of the main things is that it's okay just to sit and consider and think about things.
Yeah, I definitely think thinking time is very valuable, even if it's like to the point where it's hurting your head to sit there and think.
Yeah.
Or like sometimes I just can't get like my project out of my head. So I've had the opposite problem. So with your exhibition, you've got quite like a mix of, you've got prints on the wall with light boxes behind them, and then you've got some of your actual like raw mycelium materials that you've made.
Yeah, so I wanted to make it accessible. I wanted it to be an exhibition where people could go around and sort of feel things and hear things. So we have biomaterials that I grew in the lab with some mycelium in there. So that's changed over time. So we've got an ever-changing image, and that's gone down very well. And then a soundscape which includes mushrooms taking up, the sound of mushrooms taking up water, which is quite interesting. Then we've got some artificial, it's not artificial.
Like virtual reality?
Yeah, it's augmented reality, sorry.
Yeah.
So where you get your phone, you do a QR code, and then this giant king mushroom, oyster mushroom grows in front of you, and you can walk around it, look underneath the ribs, underneath the cap, and then we've got some mycelium that I've grown that is no longer growing, but you can feel it and touch it. So it's very much an immersive, and again, it's about getting people to start talking and ask me questions, and then I can introduce the plastic element to it. And that's the key, is getting people to realise that mycelium can be a big game changer for plastics.
Yeah, and that's a really great message to be
Thank
coming
you.
forward with.
Thank you, Rosie.
Do you have any immediate plans at the moment for what to do now? I feel like you need to take this message
And spread it around like
and
mycelium.
run with it.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to reach out to a few places that I know like this sort of work. So I might go to Primary, We Are Primary, which is a local space. The people at Backlit here have shown some interest in liking it. And I think I'm just going to have to reach out to people and just start talking to people and just keep plugging away, really, I think.
Yeah.
And
I
keep
mean,
working at it as well.
Nothing to lose.
Everything to gain.
Exactly. And I'd love to hear if you've got any advice for people who are considering taking a creative pathway or choosing a creative degree.
Absolutely. I would say try everything and anything. Don't be frightened. Don't think that your idea is crazy or weird, because it isn't, and just run with what you feel you want to do. And if you've got opportunities to try 3D scanning at uni, or painting, or pottery, or whatever, do it.
Yeah.
I can't advise that enough, because you'll just find so many more ideas come from just doing other things.
I think you definitely get out what you put in as well with creative courses.
Absolutely, and attend everything.
Yeah.
Even if you don't enjoy it, it informs that you find out something that you don't like.
And I think also some of those lectures back in first year that were actually, quite challenging. I know that they sort of clicked in third year when I was writing my dissertation. I was like, oh, it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
That context led to that. And
I think you're right there, because year 1 informs year 2, and 1 and 2 inform year 3. And without those 3 together, you can't be the best you can be for your final degree.
100%. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I think I've asked you all the questions I want to ask today. I really encourage everybody to go look at your work because it's so interesting. And I know like everybody I've brought has loved it. They've been
fabulous.
Like, they're like, the mushroom lady, we love her work.
Here lies the mushroom lady. Love it. Thank you,
yeah,
Rosie.
I can't wait to see what you do next and where you go.
Thank you, Rosie, and you too.
Great.
It's been a pleasure.